Hello there, my lovely darklings. It's your fave witch, Jamila Anahata, back with another video. And today I'm going to be doing an eyeliner tutorial. I'm going to be doing an inner wing lined cat eye type situation. I always do winged eyeliner. Sometimes when I do eyeshadow, especially when it's like a colored one. This one is like pinky purple, which I always wanted to do, especially with this pinky nude purple lip that I just did a couple minutes ago. And while I was doing my face, I wanted to omit the eyeliner and the lash part of my process so I can show y'all what I do when it comes to that. So once again, it's that inner winged eyeliner type situation that you like to see on like trad goths and just goths in general. I just love that look. It makes everything a little bit more darker and sinister. And I might even do a lash tutorial if time permits. I brought my Fire Vixen lashes, and what is the name of it? It is Diablo, which I completely love. One of my favorite lashes on top of the wing liner tutorial. And on top of that, I'm going to be talking about spiritual bypassing. So what is spiritual bypassing? That's something that in the spiritual community, a lot of people like to throw around for great reason. And as somebody who likes to do shadow work and who likes to do inner work, always likes to look in the mirror and always likes to have personal growth, spiritual bypassing is something I do not like to do. You know, we all like to be positive, uplifting, empowering, but when it comes to bypassing certain things in the name of being positive or uplifting, it is a no for me. Okay, so let's get started with the winged eyeliner tutorial. I'm going to see what I can do with this, especially since I usually do this in my bathroom. And I have my little glam goth vanity mirror, so fingers crossed that works as well. Let's see what happens. But before I get started, I want to give you the definition of what spiritual bypassing is. And according to Google or Wikipedia, to spiritual bypass or spiritual bypassing is a tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid facing unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. And the term was introduced in the mid-80s by John Wellwood, who was a Buddhist teacher and psychotherapist. And I absolutely love that definition because that's what it really is. It's about avoidance. It's trying to be toxically positive or using happy emotions or trying to use the light in order to bypass the dark, and that's something you cannot do, especially since there's no light without the dark and no dark without the light, and there's all these energies in between that we can't forget about as well. So that's what I like about the term spiritually bypassing or to spiritually bypass, because that's just something that a lot of people like to do because it feels good to always want to be positive sometimes, but in the name of what? Be positive with what? Like, if something doesn't feel good, acknowledge it. Like we're humans. We experience all types of emotions. It's a beautiful range of emotions as well. And to avoid those things and to suppress it and to not allow them to come up to the surface is doing us such a disservice, more than we know. Okay, great. I'll get back into that topic in a second. But I just have just a typical like felt tip eyeliner that you could use, anyone could use, obviously vegan and cruelty free. The logo is kind of scratched off, so I don't really know where I got it from. But let me move this a little bit closer and see how I'm able to figure the situation out, because it will be great to show y'all today. Okay, great. So I'm taking out my felt tip type black eyeliner. And what I like to do is I always like to create my eyeliner first. So a nice thick eyeliner, nice thick eyeliner directly onto my lids, nothing fancy. Just because I'm thinking about how I'm able to angle it inwards using a more fine tip eyeliner pencil or eyeliner thingy. So yes, once again, I'm going on my lid, just creating a nice thick band over my eyelid, straight up. That's all I'm doing with that one. And when it comes to my eyeliner, my winged eyeliner, what I like to do is use a type of aid when it comes to that, because I don't mind using, once again, the fine tip eyeliner to go in and make my own wing. However, I like to have a little bit of assistance with my Wicked Sisters Cosmetics eyeliner. And what I do with that is that, you know, there's one part that is just straight up eyeliner. That's a nice felt tip. And there's also another side where it can give you a stamp with eyeliner. So I'm not too sure if you can see that, but yeah, it has a beautiful stamp that you can stamp right at the edge, maybe in the inner corner if you want to, but I like to use a more finer tip. So on top of doing that, I always make sure I measure out or see what angle would be best for my eye shape. So I go in there and make that stamp, and it's a little dull. You're probably not going to be able to see it, but that's completely fine. And then now it comes to my finer tip. Like, you know when you are painting and you have that little fine tip brush that you have, that's what you use for your inner corner or even your outer corner. So since this is a little bit dull, since I've used that Wicked Sisters eyeliner stamp to death, I go in with my finer tip and I just follow the wing. I just make it a little bit more dramatic. And once again, fingers crossed, I do this correctly since I usually do this in my bathroom. But I'm pretty sure I got this in the bag. Yeah, so I'm making sure it's nice and thick, nice and dramatic. Because you can make it thinner if you feel like it, if you so choose. But I like my wings real dramatic, real romantic, real gothy and sinister and seductive. So I'm just making sure I'm filling this out. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm digging it so far. Okay, I think this is fine so far, not too sure. But if I don't like it, I can just easily go back and fix it. But yes, y'all, now I'm going to be going into the inner corner. So let me show you what I do with that. So what I like to do is, all I do is kind of flick it downward. So wherever your eye shape starts, like the inner corner, I just slightly go downward, kind of like what you do with the regular wing. You're flicking it upward at a certain angle depending on your eye shape. And I'm going to do that the same way inside of my inner corner. So I'm just going to go in and flick it downward. Just flick it downward until it looks like a wing in the inner corner. And I also like to drag the eyeliner a little bit further into my inner corner. So it kind of goes a little bit darker, and it's not just the wing I'm doing, it's also just connecting with all the other eyeshadow and all the other eyeliner up top. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the eyeliner, the thick band that I did on top earlier, with my now inner corner wing. And just spike it out a little bit more so it has more of a funnel to it. So it's not just a line going inward, it's more of a triangular shape. You know, the wing. You want to make sure that it, at first it's nice and thick, and then it gradually descends into a fine point. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Flicking it outward just a little bit, not too much. And voila! I believe this might be it. Let me just check a little bit to see if that's how I usually do it. If not, then I think you all get the gist. But let me check. Okay. Not bad, not bad. I probably need to go in with my other wing in a second, but no worries. And I'm going to do the other side. You can follow along with me as I go over spiritual bypassing once more. So yes, y'all, that is something I like to avoid. There was a point in time in your spiritual journey and my spiritual journey personally, and I know a lot of people's as well, where they felt like in order to be spiritual or in order to be positive or uplifting, you had to only be that the whole time, as if that's the only flavor that you can have as a human being. And that's the funny part of being a human being, and even being someone who is more feminine and aligned. There are so many flavors, there's so much variety, there's so much ease and flow and joy and fun and fulfillment when it comes to being a human, and especially being feminine aligned. So when you know that you can experience all the ranges of being a human, all the emotions, all the thoughts, all the experiences. There are so many things that you can experience in this world, in this plane, that can be perceived as negative or positive. But that's the thing. If we realize that what makes things negative or positive is our own judgment alone, then everything can kind of be neutral in a lot of ways. Of course, we don't want to be numb to what life can give us and how we can feel and all those types of things, because feeling is such a beautiful thing. Feeling is such an underrated thing. We want to feel happy all the time, but we won't want to experience the contrast of being happy all the time. And that contrast might feel icky, but it only feels icky because we've been conditioned to believe that having negative emotions, or being angry or sad or anxious, all those types of things, are things that will make us feel terrible forever. There's something about us that makes us feel like we're not able to release these emotions, because, as I always like to say, emotions are energy in motion. You're not going to be able to feel them all the time. They come and they go, and we want them to arise and to leave us. And even when it's happy emotions, even when we're in a good mood, when we're feeling all types of way, in a great way, when we're feeling blissful, ecstatic, through the roof, those are great feelings to have. However, those are also fleeting. Those are definitely fleeting emotions as well. And a lot of the time, we'll do whatever we can to keep those emotions in our body. And that is usually in the form of drugs, whatever addictions we may have, whatever vices we may have, whatever makes us feel lighting up inside. And that could also be our hobbies, our friends, our families, whatever. But a lot of the time, a lot of people do not feel like they are complete without always having that oxytocin, serotonin, that happy rush, the happy hormone rush that we usually get when we are feeling in a good mood. And that's the thing, y'all. We don't have to avoid just because we always want to be in a good mood. I'm not saying we can be in a good mood all the time, because once again, you want to experience all the emotions that you're feeling in the moment. Whenever you are aware, whenever you are conscious, mindful, or present of how you're feeling, you want to honor those emotions. You not only want to feel them, but because you recognize that they are temporary, you want them to arise and to fleet, good or bad. And that's the thing about negative emotions and spiritual bypassing, is that I am a huge believer that when you do not express all your emotions, or when you try to hide, what you're feeling, what you're trying to hide, what you're thinking, when you hide those types of things from yourself, they come back to haunt you in more ways than one. And avoiding them only manifests in a way that does not serve us. That could possibly be through disease, that could possibly be through certain circumstances in our life that we perceive as negative. A lot of the time when we avoid something, when we avoid our feelings, they pop up in our life experience in something that's undesirable. And we don't want to tell our brain something we don't want. We don't want to avoid simply because we think that it'll make us feel better. It won't make us feel better, spoiler alert. Whenever we honor our emotions and allow ourselves to feel, we are doing our body a great service, because we're not allowing pent up energy, pent up hormones, pent up emotion to just sit there in our bodies and manifest as an issue, as a physical, spiritual, or even mental issue. We all know that whenever we avoid, they come back to haunt us 10 times more. Whenever we're feeling sad, or whenever we're feeling lonely, and we try to hide that from ourselves, from other people, when we're alone, When we're by ourselves, when we're by our lonesome, we know that it feels bad. We know that it doesn't feel good, and because of that, we're prolonging our misery. And that's something that I wanted to talk about more, and probably in another video, is that to spiritually bypass or to basically avoid the negative emotions that life can bring, or the unsavory or undesirable emotions that life can bring, whatever we tell ourselves that these emotions feel like, it's almost as if we're prolonging our suffering on purpose. And we don't think of that a lot of the time. We usually consider that to be something that we should do. Oh, if you're feeling sad, oh, just think of happy thoughts. Oh, are you feeling a bad emotion coming up or a bad thought coming up? Oh, just push it to the side till later. Even though that can be valid in a lot of ways, because there's not always the time or the place to just sit there and do your shadow work, your inner work, and just go into your mode of like, oh my gosh, how did that make me feel? What am I gonna do? How should I write this down? How should I express this out loud? We don't always have to do that 24/7. However, when you do not do your inner work or your shadow work, or when you do try to bypass uncomfortable emotions in the name of being spiritual or high vibrational or the most enlightened, it does you a disservice, because you are just constantly in a state of being miserable. Because once again, when you do not release those emotions, they manifest in the body in some sort of way, and we all know this, and that prolongs our suffering. And at the end of the day, you have to think about it in this way where, do I like being miserable? Am I addicted to pain? Am I addicted to suffering? Do I like suppressing these emotions because I feel like I'm not deserving or worthy of allowing them to express, so that I can get to a place of ease, joy, and flow, and fun and fulfillment, and all those great things that life has to offer? That is definitely something that we all need to consider. Because as much as we are addicted to always feeling pleasure and joy, especially when it comes from outside of us, we need to also acknowledge that we are addicted to suffering. We are addicted to pain. We are addicted to feeling like we have to complain, that we have to drudge through life miserably, that life is nothing but suffering and boredom and gray, and we just have to work to survive and do this and that in order to please others. And that is absolutely not true. You get to define what life is. You get to define how you spend your life and enjoy yourself and express yourself and all those types of things. Life does not have to be painful and it's full of suffering and full of bad things. Even though there are going to be times where we do not feel happy, life is beautiful and we all know it. Think about it. We are the universe experiencing itself. You are here to allow the universe to play itself out in real time. And because of that, nothing is really good or bad. It just is. It just is. And once again, you get to define that. You get to define what you believe. You get to define how you perceive the world. You get to define how you see yourself. And because of that, if you think of things neutral in that way, then it's hard to even see being sad temporarily or depressed temporarily or anxious temporarily as a bad thing. You just see them as something that comes and goes, just like everything else. Just like money comes and goes, just like friends come and go, just like certain experiences come and go. Your emotions do the exact same thing, and really, everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. Even in this moment, this is the youngest and the oldest I'll be presently. That is wild, absolutely wild. And because of that, it's hard to want to spiritually bypass things, because when you think of things in that way, you realize that all emotions are absolutely beautiful. There is a lot of pleasure and pain, and pain and pleasure. And we all know those types of things as well. If you've seen Hellraiser, then you know what I'm talking about. But yes, once again, y'all, it is not a bad thing to feel your feelings. As if anything, we should do that as much as we can, wherever we can. Because without feeling your feelings and not letting them express themselves and just allow them to fleet, you're just gonna have pent up energy that is going to manifest in some sort of way, or even create an undesirable circumstance in your life. All right, so let's move on to lashes. So I have my, once again, Fire Vixen lashes in Diabla right here. They're one of my favorites, especially when I go to a metal show. And what I like to do when it comes to lashes is I take my Duo Glue and I put either the clear coat or the black color. You can do the black, especially when it comes to having your eyeliner on, but I'm going to use the clear today, just because I've used these lashes quite a bit, and the black kind of enhances the glitter that I've used in past uses. So I'm going to use the clear for now. So what I like to do is I like to put the glue directly on top of my eyeliner, and it doesn't affect my eyeliner, especially since this is a clear color, so no worries about that. So I'm taking my clear glue, putting it directly on top of my liner, and you could use some tweezers. I have some tweezers here from Bad Dahlia, but I don't mind just using it with my fingers. I've noticed that my fingers has been a little bit more helpful lately, so I just place them directly on top of my lash line. And another thing too is, before I do this, I also like to, oh, fingers crossed I did this correctly. I can feel that it's a little misaligned, but got my trusty tweezers. Oh my god, I was gonna say my twisty tweezers. Ah. We've now reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Did you know about spiritual bypassing before this video? If not, or if so, let me know down below. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe for more content, and be sure to follow me on Instagram at the Soulful Veganista. Much love, and until next time, my lovely darklings. Bye-bye.